Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Freelance Teacher. I'm Doug Marola for your latest video cast. This one is actually on sports, something I don't talk about that much. I probably should. Things being so intense in school and people trying to get things done and, assignments and conspiracies and history and English and grammar and standardized tests and all that stuff. I like sports, and I was actually kind of out of the sports loop for about 10 years because I was so serious about things. And when you kind of wake up, I guess, and I've talked in the podcast on SoundCloud and a couple of places about the things that kind of made me, to use a current term, woke. A couple of things that did that, and then those things become paramount. They become everything that you want to read about and follow and take a look at. And so I bailed from sports for quite a bit, and I was a basketball maniac, for lack of a better word. And I've gotten back into it over the past 3 or 4 years, let's say. And I really like pro baseball. I like football. I'm a huge fan of pro basketball in general, really. And I was listening to the Zach Lowe podcast. He's interviewing Steve Kerr. The Golden State Warriors just won their second title, second in 3 years. And last year's loss to the Cavaliers was really an upset. The Cavaliers upset the Warriors. If you look at it, it should be 3 in a row for Golden State. They're that good. So 2 out of 3 titles in 3 years is solid, and they're the odds-on favorite for next year, and I'll say the year after that. So my picks for the 2018 and 2019 finals, I see Golden State winning both of those years, barring wildly unforeseen things. But the part that piqued my interest with this podcast between Zach Lowe and Steve Kerr was the fact that Zach Lowe asked Steve Kerr about the Warriors going to visit the White House. And I guess if you pay attention to things, these questions seem completely asinine. Like, why would it be a question this year with Donald Trump in the White House? In theory, the Cavaliers last year in 2016 and the Warriors after their 2015 title, they should have boycotted going to the Obama White House, right? I mean, what's the difference? You have Barack Obama deporting in huge numbers. I think 2014 was the year that Barack Obama became known as the deporter in chief, because the record in terms of deportations were at an all-time high. If you don't want people to be deported and you don't want families broken up, the Obama record on deportations is terrible. And you can go out behind my back and look this stuff up. You don't need to take my word for it. And you actually shouldn't take my word for it. I mean, I'm right, but you should look it up on your own. Not only that, the drone killings in the Middle East, the never-ending war in the Middle East, bombing of Yemen, right? That hospital in the Middle East with the children got blown up. Oops, that was a mistake, they said. Hardcore atrocities going on. And not hidden. This stuff was in the news. It wouldn't have been terrible or difficult to find it out. And if someone had stood up and said, you know what? I'm not going to the Obama White House for the celebration or to meet the president. I think it's terrible. I think these wars are awful, and I'm not going to condone a visit. I apologize, but I'm not going to see the guy. That player, whoever would have done that, would, in my opinion, have been brave and heroic 6 different ways to Sunday, because academia, the mainstream media, large corporations, corporate media, mainstream opinion, the people whose opinions are only on the 3x5 card of establishment opinion, which is the Tom Woods line, which is perfect. Those people would have been okay, but real people who pay attention would have said, wow, look at that person standing up. But now this Trump thing, right? Like, should we go? As if it's, it was just fait accompli before. It was just automatic. Yeah, you go to the White House. Barack Obama, he's a good guy, right? That's what I keep hearing. And so you have, Donald Trump, the corporate media, which doesn't like outsiders, and the Democratic and Republican uniparty, who don't want an outsider in there. And I'm not in love with the Donald Trump administration, but why would you even ask if it's okay to go? Is there anything different? What's going on now with the Donald Trump administration that wasn't going on before? it's difficult to come up with very solid answers. It's really difficult to come up with stuff that's tangible things and policy decisions that are just, wildly different. Donald Trump wants a travel ban. So far, zero people have died by Donald Trump wanting a travel ban, which he's been blocked at the circuit court now. So it's not even happening yet, because I guess Zach Lowe is of the left. He seems kind of like a social justice warrior type. And I would assume that Steve Kerr is as well, but I don't know Kerr well enough. Who, to his credit, said, well, you have to take into account the respect for the government, the respect for the office, the respect for the White House. Kerr was either being exceedingly talentedly diplomatic about it, or Kerr is a kind of a closet realist who says, well, not much different going on. I really can't justify skipping the celebration at the White House. But it should be, and I talk to young people about this, and I'm talking to young people now. I want you to think about that, how what people have been told and how they feel about somebody dictates what they do. Not the record, not what's actually going on, not what had gone on before, but how they feel because of what they've been told by corporate media about somebody like former President Obama or current President Trump. And that dictates their actions. Right? The fact that you would question, well, are we going to go to the White House? Should we go to the White House? Why is it a question now? It doesn't make any sense, right? If war and bombing and killing and Trump, Trump is a racist, and well, are killing Muslims in the Middle East, is that racist or no? It doesn't matter, and it really shows why I have contempt for what is now considered the left, because they don't care about deportations or killings or war. They really don't. When it's someone on their quote-unquote side, these are non-topics. When it's someone else that the corporate media mainstream opinion doesn't like, something of an outsider in Trump, when someone else is around, oh, well, he's a bad guy. And the things he does, and those terrible things that he says, we feel badly about it. So therefore, we're gonna have to really think about this presidential visit. Those dead kids the past couple of years, whatever, right? That doesn't matter. But the New York Times and MSNBC and CNN tell me that Trump is a racist. Well, now we're gonna, and all the cool people say that he's a bad guy and has bad thoughts and says bad things. So now we're gonna have to actually think about this. I just want you to think as a young person and see how people's decisions are not logical. They are not based on any kind of practical evidence. Their reason and evidence and these kind of proof, these things are not used. Slow, careful thought about this. They're not used for decision making. So your job as a young person is to at first recognize this. This is what was talked about in the first episode of The Century of the Self. I talk about it quite a bit with students, and we're seeing evidence of it right now, in even in the sports world. So we'll see how this plays out. We'll see about the Warriors' visit to the White House, how that goes, and what people say. And I guarantee you can take this guarantee to the bank, just like you can take my 2018-2019 Warriors victory guarantee to the bank. You can be guaranteed that there will be no logic, no reason, no evidence, and no real justification for not going to the Trump White House other than how people feel. There won't be any egregious proof. There won't be anything direct from change in terms of the last administration of this one that will make people not go. It'll just be how they feel and what they've been told by corporate media, the mainstream, and I would say the general feel of the coastal cities in like New York and California. All right. That's about 10 minutes. That's longer than I wanted. Have a good night. Hopefully you don't have any homework because it's wasting your time. And I'll talk to you next time.